very important to pay attention to the weather at all times when you live on a boat. When it's raining, you've got to batten down the hatches to keep the water outside of the boat. The number one rule of the boat is to keep water on the outside of it, not on the inside. When it's raining, it's very difficult to go ashore because you're going to get soaking wet. So you got to take foul weather gear with you, trekking all around town, getting drenched the entire time. But my favorite part about paying attention to the weather is when it rains. When it rains, I can capture more water. When it rains, I can wash off the boat pretty easy. When the wind direction changes, if it gets up to a really high speed, I'll let out more chain. In some cases, I'll move. I mean, like, I want to be in a place where I can sleep at night, not worry about myself dragging or any of these other people dragging into me. Now, the beauty about this location here is I am probably only 150 yards from shore. If you'll notice, there's nobody in front of me or behind me. Everybody is off to my side. And if you'll look, there begins the fort for Old San Juan, and it ends, you can still see the wall, it ends about right there. And so here I am 150 yards from shore in about 25 feet of water. And so right now the wind is 5 to 7 knots, hardly blowing. I've got about 100 feet of chain out currently right now. So there's really no place for me to go. I've been here for a couple of weeks. This anchorage is pretty safe. Now, I did have one guy pull up my anchor as he was leaving, didn't say anything, was kind of rude and very disrespectful, and I had some choice words for him, but he apparently didn't speak English and just kept on moving. So remember, weather, super important for keeping you safe, keeping the boat safe, all of the crew safe, and providing for all of the things that you need to do to continue to live on the boat. Like getting fresh, clean drinking water to fill up the tanks. Weather. It is extremely important when you live on a boat. I use Predict Wind. It's kind of expensive, but it works even offshore. They have an offshore app and an inshore app. I'm currently using the inshore. It's set for Thursday, May the 1st. And I can scroll through here and get an hour by hour of wind direction, temperature. I could even scroll down and get the tides, high tide, low tide, the wave direction, and frequency of the waves. But while I'm at anchor, the reason this one is so important is I will write down a week's worth of all of the wind directions and speed. So for example, I would start right here. I'd be like, okay, in the morning it looks like it's going to come between 9 and 12 knots from the east, right? About midday, looks like it's going to be, 13 to 18 from the east. And as I continue on in the evening, as I'm going asleep and resting, it looks like it's going to be between 9 and 13 from the east. And so the next day I would start over again. I'd be like, okay, first thing in the morning, it looks like it's coming, east by southeast, but mostly east. And so I'd write down east, 10 to 14 knots. About midday, east looks like about 11 to 15 knots. And in the evening, it looks like it's going to be about 9 to 13 knots. I'll write this out all the way for a week wherever I'm going to stay at. And then I'll pull up the exact locations if I'm doing a crossing where I expect to be in those crossings, so I can get the most accurate weather for where I am and where I'm going to be. And I'll take screenshots of these on a crossing because they are apt to change, sometimes very slightly, and sometimes they change quite a bit. Now, this is how I keep a ship's log. This is just a regular spiral calendar, day by day, a day planner basically. I write down every day whether I was at anchor, whether I was moving, the temperature, what the wind was like, what the clouds were like, and the things that I did that day. If I did any maintenance, if I went ashore, if I met somebody. And if you'll notice down here, look in the bottom corner, it shows that the wind was coming from the east, 18 to 26. That was what was expected. And so one of my little things that I do is this little box over the number lets me know that it's going to be above 20 knots, which means pay attention. You want to definitely be out of the weather. So as I flip over to May, where I am currently in San Juan, Puerto Rico, I just did mine for the week. And so here's today what I've done. So far I had lobster and grits and coffee. I've captured almost 8 gallons of water today. These are where the winds are expected. There's going to be a jam night tomorrow at a place in town, so I'm going to take my guitar up there and jam and listen to some poetry. And I can come across and look at all of these dates and know if anything drastic is going to change. And so if you'll notice here, most of the wind continually comes from the east, and every once in a while it clocks around. And so I'm looking for anything that gets above 20 knots because I definitely want to be paying attention, maybe drop out a little bit more chain, or possibly even move sometimes. And so this is how I pay attention to weather at anchorage. One of my favorite features of Predict Wind is the maps. And so here I am in the green dot at San Juan. I'm going to be going east towards the U.S. Virgin Islands in just a few days. And so I will hit play on this thing and we will see how the wind direction is going to move over the next few days. Looks like it's going to continually be coming from the east, sometimes a little stronger, sometimes a little weaker. But it gives us a pretty good forecast of wind direction. Now I've got it set on wave direction so I can see where the waves are going to be coming from for that crossing. And so this gives me a pretty nice visual of showing that the waves are coming in a northeasterly direction. And so it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a beam reach no matter what I do. If the waves are coming from the northeast and the wind is coming from the east, we're going to be beating a little bit. And so then I'll look at currents. And here's a map of the currents expected. So if I come down and hit play, it gives me a day by day. If you notice the bottom left hand corner, it keeps moving up day by day, shows me where the currents are coming from and where they're going. And so now I know where the currents are going to be at, where the wind is coming from, and also where the waves are going to be coming from. Because data is so expensive out at sea, it's a good idea to take snapshots of these when you have a connection up close to shore, when you don't have to pay a lot of money. That way you can pull them up easily. They're available. They'll be on your iPad or on your phone somewhere so that you can get to those and verify the weather and the expectations that you're planning to have on your crossing. I hope this helps you out, my friend.